What's up, everybody? So, back with another episode, I guess, if you want to call it. I got a gentleman here that I met. I've known him for about 3.5 months, I guess now. Started with one of our agency partners who we'll have on eventually. But this gentleman has been crushing it. He's worked the mortgage leads, he's worked the IUL leads. I think we found his sauce now. We're getting him up and running. But I want to welcome to the stage today my brother Christian, man. Thank you so much for hopping on today, bro.
Of course, I'm truly blessed for you to invite me on here. I
Yeah,
love it.
for sure, bro. Well, we're gonna make this about the agents for sure. But before we do that, can you give the people just a little background, bro? Like, how did you get into the financial services space? You can share as much or as least as you like, but in terms of just like, how did we end up right here?
Yeah, so I started, I'd say about at the beginning of the year in January. I really got put on. We were just working final expense, really just like veteran leads, really quick sales, just pushing a lot of final expense. And then once we transitioned over, we were trying to look for more stickier products because we were dealing with a lot of chargebacks, whatnot. So that's when we were looking towards like mortgage protection, just things that would actually stick with people that actually are tied to something. And I didn't see too much success with the mortgage protection. It's a different type of sale, selling out of fear, selling like they're going to lose what they've been spending their whole life on. But I really feel like the IULs really was the switch because it's more of selling of a luxury item, selling something that people do want. And it's been honestly, I'm about to be on a year the next month. So I've been blessed to been in here for a year, survived the first year, and I'm really, really ready to move forward and just improve.
Yeah, no, 100%, bro. You touched on a few things that I think is important. First of all, I didn't even know you've only been doing this for a year, so
Yeah.
kudos to you, bro. But before we hop into the IUL thing, can you walk through agents like your progression and thought process through it? I like what you said about the chargebacks. You did the mortgage, but can you say I'm an agent and I'm like, yo, Kirsten, I kind of am on that same journey. I'm at final expense, but I want to get to mortgage, or I'm at mortgage and I want to get to, advanced market IUL. If you were speaking to yourself 8 months ago, what would you say to that person?
I'd say I was always just scared because I never understood what an IUL was and I never understood the exactly how they worked. So when I saw people who I was influenced, I saw everyone dropping those big premium amounts and I'm like, damn, I really want to be like that. And it really was just really understanding what an IUL is, what the client is hoping to do, and trying to make it sure that they can accomplish that goal that they're really interested in. Because I feel like an IUL is something that a lot of people do desire, of course, but only a select few can actually really get approved for it. And a lot of people, they do deal with some pretty terrible brokers. You can see like they have an improperly structured one and just making sure the client is set up well as, of course. But I feel definitely I wish I would have jumped on them a little bit sooner, moving away from final expense because a lot of people are crawling out of a hole because it's final expense. It's some 60, 70-year-old person who really doesn't care too much about the coverage. It's not really going to benefit their future at all. It's really just leaving behind a legacy. And an IUL does that and so much more. And speaking with a lot of qualified clients, so people who do have the income to actually fund it properly, people who do see the value in it, it's not like you're forcing them into a sale. It's something that they want, and you're just the guy that sets it up for them.
Yeah, I really like that, bro. I really like what you said there in regards to the client doesn't necessarily see outside of just leaving the legacy piece. They see no other value in it versus like with an IUL, they do, man, and that's super important. But let's talk. So we can hop straight into it. The jump from mortgage protection to IUL. Now I'm a mortgage. I love mortgage protection personally.
Really.
Can you talk to? I'm an agent and I'm at mortgage protection. I'm looking to get into IUL. What would you say is the biggest mindset shift that an agent has to have when going from dealing with mortgage protection clients to dealing with, IUL clients?
I'd say the biggest switch is don't overcomplicate it because confused people don't buy. I felt the same thing with IUL or with mortgage protection, I should say. Most of the people I spoke to, they didn't even understand what mortgage protection was. And then kind of bridging that gap of it is insurance. A lot of people got turned away. And I honestly, I'll speak on experience. I'm terrible trying to convince them that this was the best route. But with the IUL, I leave it very simple just because you don't want to over explain it to a point where they are confused because confused people don't buy. And that's the main thing that I personally saw. So just trying to make it as simple as possible, make sure that they can understand it. I explain it almost like to a child. And then, of course, make it at a way, leave it in a point where it would be almost not beneficial to your future to not have an IUL in place because there's no downside really. And then, of course, if they do have the proper funds to fund it, I mean, why not?
Right. Do you book appointments or do you do one call closes for the IUL leads?
I'd say if I can get a one call close, that's amazing. But a lot of these people, they are busy, they are working class. So calling during the day, I found is not the most beneficial. Either calling after 3, 4, 5 p.m. when they're off of work on the way home, or as early as possible before they're actually heading into work. I see as the best, but it's really following up with these people because you just got to get them on a one good day that they're home, they're off of work. And since you've been following up with them so long, they already trust you enough and they're just ready to move in and get the request sent off.
Yeah, you touched on something and I want to go back to that. But before I do, are you booking, or not booking, are you doing Zoom calls with these clients or are you doing everything over the phone?
I do everything over the phone. I make sure to send over my license and credentials immediately. That's like the first thing I do before I go in any further. I don't want to get any social objections or any banking rebuttals. I send it over via email. I found like the text message doesn't work as well, and I like to send over like a PDF or some virtual version of my license.
I like that. Okay, that's a gem for everybody that was listening. Not through text messages, through email. Creates a little bit more credibility. I like that. One thing that you do really well, and I only know this because my team reports it back to me, is that you work your leads very methodically because we see your sheet. Can you walk agents through? You touched on calling time. So for those who didn't hear, he was saying the morning, early, their local time, and then late afternoons into the evenings. But can you walk us through like your process? Are you triple dialing? Are you double dialing? What, when you say early, like are we talking 8 a.m. around the dot? Just like super detailed for an agent that's like, Christian, can you just give me like, make it super simple, like I'm 2 years old? Like, what exactly are you doing for contact rate, bro?
Of course. So I double dial. I don't like triple dialing. I feel like it's just, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't sit with me well. I feel like it leads to spam likely a lot more profusely. I use Wave. I don't know. It's integrated into the CRM, so I really do love it. But as early as possible, so around 8 to 10, just depending on the time zone. So like East Coast, I can't hit them that late. But definitely, I do prefer the double dial. I feel like if they're not picking up the first time, second time, and then I try to hit them at least 2 times a day. So either morning twice, evening twice, just trying to get as much activity on them as possible, as soon as possible as well.
Yeah. For an agent that says, well, I'm doing the drip campaign similar to how you are, the leads are piling up. How far back do you go? Like, would you go all the way back to your first leads when you're working your leads, or do
Oh
you
yeah,
work them like in that order, or what's your process for that?
I'd say of course hit the fresh as possible, hit them first, and then I have another campaign just for people who never contacted. So that's
Hmm.
everyone from I'd say about like a week ago to all the way to the very first one. And you never know. Sometimes you just need to get that one client, never picked up the phone the other 50 times you dialed them, just the one time you pick up and it's a one call close. It's really amazing.
Yeah, no, that's dope, bro. That's dope. I mean, that's literally been for those of you that don't know him in the way that I do, or at least from a sales standpoint. But this dude really does work. He's kind of being modest, but he works his leads really well. And one of the biggest things that I hear, as you said, is an objection on the lead side is, man, these people don't pick up. And what you said is so true. It's like, when are you calling them, right? And then most people are like, well, I just try to call them. Like, if you call them when it's convenient for you, you're not going to have nearly as much success. For the person that says, Christian, why do you do it over the phone and not on Zoom? What do you say?
I feel like I look pretty young. I have a lot of tattoos, so I was just like, I don't want to lose any credibility for doing it via virtual. But I mean, of course, if someone wants to, I'll throw on a polo, I'll throw on a nice little suit, look good for them, and then I'll hop on a Zoom. But most clients, I've only had maybe one or two requests a Zoom call, and then they never really fall through. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Yeah. So it's just a simpler process for you. Another question that I get that I want to hear your response to. How do you do the illustration? How do you paint the picture for the client without being able to share your screen? What's your response to that? Or how do you do that is my question.
So there's screen sharing services out there. So you can use like Crank Wheel. That's a free one, of course. I really love it. But a lot of people, you could really just touch base with them. But if they are looking at illustrations and if it is a cash value focused one, of course, I'll Crank Wheel it. I'll show an F&G illustration. I'll throw like WinFlex, Americo, just some of those simplified ones. And you can see the illustrations. You can build it to how you want and make sure that it fits the client's needs, of course.
Gotcha. And you do that on the phone with them, or do you
Yeah.
send? Okay, so you do it on the phone with them. Perfect, perfect. I think that's super cool. I personally prefer doing everything over phone calls because it makes you have to use your words to paint pictures clear
Yeah.
versus when you're on Zoom, you can kind of like, well, I'll just share my screen. And it's like, okay, but if you have to actually explain it to them, that also will reduce the number of chargebacks and stuff you get because they actually understand what it is rather than just looking at a screen and they're like, yeah, this is how much you get in and how much you put in, how much you get out, right?
Yeah.
Hopping into the sales process though, let's walk through it real quick. So phone script. We can do, you can just kind of, you don't have to role play if you don't want to. What do you say? What's your kind of process? What's your intro when working these leads? Like, how do you go about that if you're dialing leads?
I stole your intro word for word. So you had I think we requested like you showed like the landing page and whatnot, and you said
Mhm.
exact I say the exact same thing. I'm like, hey Trey, I'm giving you a quick call back. We just got your request you sent in. It looks like you're looking into some tax-free wealth options and you listed your main financial goal. And I was like, I asked him, does that ring a bell? And then I'm Christian with tax-free wealth, and we did get the request you submitted online, and I'm actually the advisor assigned to go over this with you. And then I just go straight into it.
You just hop right into it. Yeah. Dude, I'm trying to tell people, bro. The proof is in the pudding, bro. And guess
Yeah.
what? Look, I like and I didn't know that, y'all. For those of you watching, I swear to goodness, I didn't know he did. Because some people they don't do that and they still have success, which is like cool. But yeah, man, as long as you paint the picture for what they saw, because you know what they saw. And if it ever changes, we tell you it changes. And it's like, okay, you should say this now, right? So that's money. That's money. That's money. Cool, 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 cool. So you'll do one call close or you'll try to book an appointment. Now, let's briefly pivot a little bit. I want you to talk about how are you planning like your days for working leads? Like, are you, hey, and I think this is super important, so just follow me. Like, I think it's important for people to know what successful people do. So, like, what does your kind of like just day look like from when you hit the office till when you typically leave in terms of like working the leads and kind of being involved in the business? Because you mentioned you have a gap where there's not that much going on with these leads. So how do you go about that or what's that look like?
Yeah, of course. You don't want to be just sitting there not doing anything. So typically when I come in, I'll check the portal, see if there's any pending requirements, because sometimes it is IULs and sometimes it gets sent to underwriting. Sometimes you need to get re-signed illustrations, whatnot. After that, of course, I try to hit my fresh as fast as possible. Like any fresh ones that just came in, I want to hit them as soon as possible. And then I also get filler leads. So I've been using the $2 ones in your guys' CRM store. They're really nice because they're pretty simple. They either have an IUL and it was really bad, badly improperly structured. They're sick of getting calls or they just didn't get the information. And then I've got a couple closes out of those. Those are really nice. But definitely you don't want to just be only dialing your fresh leads because you don't want to over dial them because they're going to start recognizing your number. They're going to start like, this guy's just keep calling me. Like he has nothing better to do all day. And then just making sure you can at least have something to do to still get activity throughout the day.
Dang, you just hit on something. Now I got a follow-up question. So you're
Yeah.
telling an agent, okay, I wake up, I get to the office, dial my new leads, do what I can, dial from like 8 to 10, then I take a little break. I may dial then from 10 to whenever, and then hit the fresh leads again. My question for the intermediate leads, and I know you have been buying the $2 ones. What is your process for that? Like, how are you calling? What's the script that you're using for that one? Or like, I guess for anybody that's working age leads and that's all they can afford, or like, hey, Christian, I can't do the verified ones. I can only do the $2 ones. What do you say to them? How do they work the leads? What would you say is the best practice for that?
So I use the same script. I just alter the intro a little bit. All I just say is I just kind of re-bring up the idea. I don't mention tax-free wealth just because I'm not too sure what they saw before in the past. I don't want to confuse them. I just
Mhm.
get straight to the point and ask is like, oh, you requested some information on an IUL, how it works and how it might help you. And then with their financial goal, to kind of regenerate their memory, like get them back on the topic. And then I'm just asking, did you ever get that information or did you kind of fall through the cracks? And then either they'll tell me they already have one, and then I kind of just poke a little hole in it. I was like, oh, so you must have filled this out because you saw the news on them or something like that, just to get them buy me more time. And then I
Right.
say most of the time agents aren't setting them up properly, and it's kind of why you looked into this. And then I've actually found a lot of people either don't have a properly structured one, they have a simplified issued one, like a move policy built for cash value, and it's not. I'm looking at the illustration. I'm like, dude, what are you talking about?
Right.
And then, but of course, those are kind of harder to get a one call close because it's been so long and it's not on the top of their mind. So those are definitely booked appointments to try to get them back a little bit later. But it is possible. I mean, I have. But yeah, just switching the intro a little bit, but the same process, same script.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. I think what you said before that, when you're talking about the three different type of like behaviors that you're going to get from the person, whether they already have something, right? Whether it was poorly structured or somebody never got in contact with them, and you're framing that, and that's your expectation with the leads. Like you're going into
Yeah.
it like, okay, they've talked to somebody, so I'm kind of assumptive in like, oh, that's why, maybe you didn't get this taken care of in the way that you wanted to, whatever it may be. So I think that's perfect, man. Last question, or I guess second to last question. What new agent has just started working with us? This is not just for leads, but I think this is important for anybody that does decide to like work with Agent Lead Lab. First and foremost, like what would you have to say to them? Like, hey, I just bought a batch of leads. This has nothing to do with sales, but just like the team expectations, because it is different. If
Yeah.
like communicating with our team, talking to us. But if they're a new agent and they're like, Chris, I just bought these leads, like what should I expect? What do you say to that person?
I love the team. Of course, they're really responsive. Miss Faith, she's always helping me. Jack's always helping me. If I have ever any questions or anything ever, I just hit them in the Discord and they're very responsive. And of course, they'll let you know if they're not going to be on the clock or whatnot. And they're really responsive with fixing issues or if you have any complications or if you need any questions answered, they really have you.
Yeah. And then on the lead side, this will be my last question. I'm an agent. The floor is yours too if you want to just like elaborate. But new agent just bought. You could do fresh leads or age leads. What should like their expectation be? They're like, Christian, I'm nervous. I don't know. I trust these guys. I watched your interview. I'm pulling the trigger. What do you say to that person?
Can be nervous because like the client, they'll know like you got to be the professional. You have to be confident. You have to trust yourself. That just kind of goes unsaid because they're going to feel that like when you go, you're going to get a lot more objections because they're like, you can't really trust a guy. You can like almost like self-conscious or like unnatural. I don't even know the proper term for it, but they can just inherently know that you're not fully confident in your ability to actually sell them because I go into everything, I'm assuming that they're going to buy. Like everyone, they want an IUL from me, and
Mm.
they're not getting an IUL from someone else. So I always make sure, even if it's not an IUL, they're getting mortgage protection from me. They're getting something from me where I'm gonna find something in their coverage where I can help them. And you just got to go with that thought process because if you go thinking they're not gonna pick up, they're not gonna want to buy from me, or they're getting 1,000 of these calls. Yeah, you're gonna be the guy to stop it because you're gonna fix their situation.
Yeah, I like that. So really, they just need to come in confident. They need to
Yeah.
believe that this is the right thing for them. And I got one more question because I just
Yeah.
thought you meant when you transitioned from final, not final, from mortgage to IUL, or just from Filing Express to IUL. Whenever you learned how to do the IUL, what was that process like? Was it underneath shadowing somebody and listening to sales calls? Were you on YouTube? Because this is probably the most common question that they ask me, they ask Faith, they ask our other reps. Like, well, I'm new or I want to get into IULs, but like where did you start or where do you think people should start to really be able to put themselves in a position to at least know what they're doing before they start working leads?
Yeah, so I mean, in Final Expense, I was writing some simplified issued IULs for some of the younger folks. But when I got to like more of the advanced market ones, of course, Shane, the GOAT, Shane was helping me with everything. He really walked through it and really broke it down, like really seeing a properly structured one through like F&G or NLG definitely really helped me. But of course, I'd say also YouTube because you don't want to oversell. You can't be liable for certain things. There has to be certain things that you do have to say throughout the process, or else you will get in trouble and you do have to make them aware of it. But of course, knowing the different, I forgot what they're called, the tax codes, making sure that you don't MEC or nothing like that, TEFRA, DEFRA, you can also do that all on YouTube. That's really simple. Knowing how they are positioned to actually be advantage for the client. So compared to like a IRA or just a traditional 401k, just knowing the differences and showing that you do have some knowledge on the product.
Right, right. I think that's super important. Compliance is huge for these because
Yeah.
even just telling people what a simplified issue, whew, playing, bro, it's sketchy, bro. So it's
Yeah.
like you gotta watch out, man. I don't try to throw shade, but people can do what they want. But yeah, man, I appreciate you, bro. If you have anything else you can tell them, but outside that, I mean, we're pretty much good. Thank you for hopping on. I know people will really appreciate this. It's a question I get asked all the time. So anytime we have top producers who, are doing their thing, working our leads or partner with us like you guys are, I want to make sure that, you all get spotlighted. And also this is just a good platform for agents to watch this and be like, okay, I got something from this. If they take one or two nuggets, that's all we need them to do, right? So
Of course.
any last words before we hop off, or are you all good to
No,
go?
I got it.
I appreciate your time, bro. Thank you so much. And everybody, if you all need anything, as always, just hit the website, Asian Lead Lab. You can fill out the contact us form or scroll down to the bottom. You'll see that number. It'll go to one of our dedicated reps and they'll be in contact with you. Appreciate you.